Gotta love YouTube. Here we are with part 3 of Superman vs. the Elite. Some of our some of the extras. We just got done reading The Elite Unbound, No Rules, No Mercy, and I didn't read the Justice League Elite series. I don't know if you might want to weigh in on.
I did read it. It was an excellent spin-off series to Joe Kelly's Justice League run. The teams kind of split off, and some of the
You
Justice
just
League.
follow Ollie.
I do, actually. I do. Back when Oliver
Jurgensen,
Queen
right?
was worth following. I miss him a lot. It was really, and really, I was a big fan of Joe Kelly's Justice League run, and there was just a great 12-issue series of here's a group of just really messed up people, and then we'll give them a couple Justice League members to kind of keep them in check and see if they can't be a force for good.
So was the Elite story, was it a big story arc, or was it just we're trying out a series and it didn't work, we're going to end it?
No, I think it was meant to be just a 12-issue. It was just a big story arc because it wasn't really played like a series with any particular legs, so to speak. Like, it was just very specific. And my memory of it is...
It's been a while.
I'd love to go back and reread those. But, yeah, it was, I think, mostly played as a kind of mini-series event type of tie-in thing.
What was the big climactic villain or enemy or...
I would say themselves. It was a lot of it. Just kind of taking these Elite characters with their kind of really muddy morality, and I mean, like, part of the purpose of the team was, they were kind of taking on those missions that Justice League proper wasn't comfortable taking on. Just a lot of, and not like not to the extent of like Uncanny X-Force. It's not like a Black Ops extension of Justice League by any means.
Yeah, you still had the Flash on the team.
A lot more, yeah. You had Oliver Queen and you had Wally West, kind of trying to keep them in check. That strains a lot of my memory of the series, except that Doug Mahnke's art was beautiful. I really liked.
Was this
Vera
before
Black.
or after? And I want to say this was after the Hunt for Aquaman, when Justice League came out twice a month, and you had the two teams. One had like Nightwing on it, and they were like fighting on Earth, and the other one was. And that was like the first time I had seen Paquette, who was doing.
Was he doing those? Yannick?
Yeah. Like, he seemed like, at the time, he looked very Doug Mahnke-esque.
Yeah.
Very similar.
At that time, they were both, very complimentary. They've
definitely
kind of
grown apart.
Since then. Both great artists still, but
just for different.
Their similarities kind of split off.
So anyway, like, I always go back to that era because I think we had talked about a couple of the other characters that were on Justice League that kind of went over to Elite. I don't know if he went over to Elite, but Major Disaster.
Yeah.
Manitou was. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
And I liked the whole Manitou thing. You were just saying a little while ago you were not a fan.
I didn't care for it.
I dug it, especially
the relationship.
The big reveal at the end of like, oh, okay, I get what you did now with this character. That's clever.
I didn't care for the relationship. It was getting kind of whiny with his wife, and
I don't know.
It was, for me, it was like I wanted Justice League to be action, and it wasn't. I loved the Batman drama at the time. I loved Plastic Man being written by.
There were some really great Plastic Man issues in that run,
but.
And he was like Joe Kelly. It seemed like the guy that kind of embraced the fact that Plastic Man had a son, and kind of brought in some of the aspects that were further established in Kingdom Come with.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
What was he called? No, it was
Offspring.
Offspring. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally threw out like that. What? No.
And Joe Kelly also responsible for the awesome Batman Wonder Woman flirtation relationship thing that I also missed terribly, and which they explored in the Justice League animated series, which is a lot of fun.
That
I very much I ship the whole Batman Wonder Woman relationship.
I was like hoping that was going to go at least somewhere more. I knew it was never going to last, but man, it was fun when it
totally the Sam and Diane of the comic.
Yeah, especially when everybody was thinking is Superman and Wonder Woman, then all of a sudden you throw Bruce in.
Silliness.
And it's like, whoa, that really works because he's not and she's so much. And
yes.
Like, oh, it was, yeah.
So good.
It was a great story.
And what you were saying about, I guess that was back to your complaints about Manitou. That was kind of my window into the Justice League. I'd never really read any Justice League comics before Joe Kelly, and I jumped on I might have jumped on in Mark Waid's very, very short run. I think I started with that with Waid and Brian Hitch, and they had like a couple story arcs together, and then that became the Joe Kelly run. But it was... I was really into more of the kind of character stuff, the drama, and that's because I was coming from years of reading only X-Men comics, so it was sort of like making the Justice League like an X-Men comic. Oh, it's all soap opera-y now, and I know for like real Justice League fans, it was probably kind of a, what is this? We want big superhero action.
It wasn't, and I maybe me back then felt that way,
yeah.
But I think the core thing that was starting to make... They were starting to break up the team and put in characters I didn't feel that belonged.
Yeah.
And it was what ultimately kills the Justice League every time, is you take out what makes the Justice League. And that was the chipping away at that point. Especially like once Aquaman left that book. Not that Aquaman was making the book, but he was like the first piece that fell out. Yeah. And all of a sudden you start putting in
Joe
the
Kelly's
second and
run
third
that
there.
brought him back, though. Like that
True.
was what resurrected him after he'd been kind of missing.
There were a
DC
lot of
comics
characters
for a
I
long time
thought had no place being in there.
Yeah.
And
I think for a lot of writers, that's kind of sometimes. I think that's kind of the fun for them. Sometimes is like, what can I make? What can I do to make this run my own, so that it doesn't bleed together with everyone else who's written the Magnificent Seven. You know, then when you think back on it, and you're like, oh, Joe Kelly, oh yeah, that was the Justice League where you had Manitou and Major Disaster.
Again, I'm not saying he was Joe Kelly's run was the beginning, the era right after him.
I think it totally faltered after
John Byrne took over.
I lost total interest in that because it just felt that's when it just kind of drifted back. I think maybe contrary to what we were just discussing. Where after that point I felt like it just kind of drifted back into just cookie cutter play by the book. It was boring. Where Joe Kelly was kind of taking chances and playing with things and making it interesting and surprising. And then it was Byrne's run, it just felt very old and sterile
with the vampire storyline. And then what's the next thing you have? Vampires. But the crisis came and the team breaks up and everybody and their mom is joining the team, from Supergirl to...
And that was... who else was writing it? Was Dan DiDio writing during that? Or no, it was someone like...
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot.
It was just a bunch of... Chuck Austin.
I know
do some?
Help relaunch... He did the Heroes Reborn of Avengers. Kurt Busiek did it. Right after.
You're right. It was and Ron Garney.
Yep.
And they did the Crime Syndicate.
I hated that run.
And they're good people. But
but I hated that
run.
And then I forget who did the last four with the really great art.
They had Daniel Acuna doing some.
But I hated those.
He was doing covers, and then Darenick was doing insides, and I'm not a big fan. It was Bob Harris. Was it Bob? It was something. Maybe. It was something weird. Like
I could care less. It was. They were so bad. But there was a couple issues that were done. I know we're running out of time. That was drawn by Rag Morales that I liked. There was one or two that were dropped, and I think those issues may have been written by Jeff Johns. Yes, they did a couple. They were co-written. It was Jeff Johns and Brad Meltzer co-writing as kind of a follow-up to Identity Crisis. With Meltzer and Rags. And those were great issues.
Those were good.
And it was like, oh, what are we setting up here? And
then that was when they canceled the series.
And then Brad Meltzer planted the seeds for a really great Justice League, and nothing ever happened with it.
Then he left, and they decided to, I don't know, set fire to the ground that those seeds were buried in. I don't know.
And then pee on the
fire.
Scorch
the earth, and...
Well, we're going to watch... one or two more, and we'll probably have a couple more parts here. So
get rid of us this
year. Superman the Elite 4 podcasts, maybe 5. Thanks for watching so far.